The Clockwork Severance. Cassian stood at the threshold of Oackhaven, the town where his life had once begun and where it had eventually fractured. A heavy gray fog clung to the pavement like a shroud, smelling of sulfur and wet iron. He clutched a crumpled map in his trembling hand, his heart heavy with the weight of the papers he had signed months ago. He wasn't here for reconciliation, but for the haunting feeling that Ione had never truly left this place, or that this place wouldn't let her go. As he moved deeper into the residential district, the silence was absolute, broken only by the rhythmic dripping of oily condensation. Cassian stopped before a shattered shop window, his reflection ghostly in the jagged glass. Behind him, the town felt wrong. The Victorian houses weren't just decaying. They were being replaced. Copper pipes sprouted from the siding like parasitic vines, and the very air seemed to hum with a low, mechanical throb. He pulled out a small locket, staring at the photo of Ione inside, her smile a distant memory of a warmer world. A sharp, metallic screech tore through the fog. From around a corner, a grotesque figure lurched into view. It was a man, or it had been once, but his jaw had been replaced with a heavy iron vise, and his legs were long, spindly hydraulic pistons. This clockwork sentry didn't breathe. It hissed steam. It turned its sensor eye toward Cassian, its gears grinding with a hunger for living flesh to fuel its cold, eternal motion. Cassian turned and bolted, his boots slapping against the oily street. He dove into the ruins of an old clockmaker's shop, pressing his back against a cold, vibrating wall. The sound of the sentry's heavy metallic footsteps passed by, echoing like a heartbeat made of lead. Cassian realized the town wasn't just dead. It was a factory of sorrow. Every groan of the floorboards felt like a complaint from a soul trapped in a cage of brass. He looked at his hands, seeing the grime of the town already beginning to stain his skin a dull, metallic gray. On a workbench, he found a page from Ione's journal, the ink smeared by dampness. "The distance between us became a wall of steel," it read. "I thought leaving would make me free, but the cold has followed me home. It's turning my heart into a pendulum, swinging between regret and silence." Cassian felt a pang of guilt. Their divorce hadn't just been a legal ending. It had been a severance that left them both hollow, vulnerable to the encroaching chill of this mechanical nightmare. Leaving the shop, Cassian was nearly caught by a multi-limbed horror known as the Weaver. It was a mass of spinning bobbins and needles, its body a tangled chassis of rusted wires. It moved with sickening fluidity, its many arms reaching out to stitch Cassian into the town's growing tapestry of steel. He managed to kick a heavy crate into its path, the sound of metal clashing against metal ringing through the empty streets like a funeral bell. Near the town square, he saw another person, a man named the Stranger, who was being dragged toward a gaping manhole by a swarm of small metallic beetles. "Help me," the man gasped, his skin already turning to a dull pewter. Cassian lunged forward, grabbing the man's hand, but the pull of the machines was too strong. The Stranger's eyes went dull as a metal mask snapped shut over his face, and he was pulled into the depths, leaving Cassian alone once more. The center of the town was dominated by a colossal tower of scrap and shifting plates. Cassian climbed a staircase made of discarded household items, clocks, bed frames, and thousands of wedding bands fused together. The higher he climbed, the more the wind sounded like a choir of grinding saws. He felt the town trying to claim him, the static in the air making his teeth ache and his thoughts fragment into cold, logical equations. At the summit, he entered a vast chamber where the great engine hummed. It was the heart of Oackhaven, a pulsing core of fire and brass that processed the town's misery into power. Pipes as thick as tree trunks pulsed with black oil, and the floor was a lattice of glowing heating elements. In the center of it all stood a figure, connected to the ceiling by a dozen thick, pulsing cables. It was Ione, but she was unrecognizable. She had become the Iron Bride, her beautiful face encased in a porcelain and steel mask, her limbs replaced by elegant but deadly copper blades. She sat upon a throne of jagged scrap, her eyes glowing with a cold, red light. She didn't speak. She only emitted a low, mourning frequency that vibrated in Cassian's marrow. She was the personification of their failed union, cold, sharp, and immovable. Ione raised a bladed arm, the gears in her shoulder screaming as she struck at him. Cassian dodged the blow, the metal floor sparking beneath him. "Ione, stop!" he cried out, his voice cracking. "I know why you're here. I felt it too. The silence wasn't a weapon, it was just fear." He didn't fight back. Instead, he stepped closer, moving past the whirring blades and the venting steam, risking everything to reach the woman buried beneath the rust. Cassian threw his arms around the cold, hard shell of the Iron Bride, pulling her into a fierce, desperate embrace. He ignored the sharp edges and the burning heat of the steam. "I love you," he whispered into the metal mask. "I'm sorry for the silence." As he held her, a miracle occurred. The metal began to crack and flake away like dry clay. The red light in her eyes faded, replaced by the soft brown of her human gaze. The town's roar turned into a gentle breeze, and as the mechanical nightmare crumbled around them, they were just two people, holding each other in the light of a new dawn.